Live streaming is on.
Hey, you guys, good morning. I hope you had a nice week. What I want to do today is just go over those two assignments that were posted yesterday. I want to take a couple problems and just go over them so you get an idea. If you haven't done them yet, this would make it probably a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm just going to pick one of the ones on the first page. It was 20% of 50. Okay. Oh, 52, excuse me. Okay. Oh, let me do this again. I've got it wrong. Hold on here. It was 52%. No, I had it right the first time. Sorry, guys. So the first one was 20% of 50. So what we're going to do, we're going to multiply here. And remember, we convert a percentage to a decimal. We're going to move the decimal point 1, 2. So that becomes 0.2 times 50. So if we do 50 times 0.2, 2 times that 0, 2 times 5 is 10. And we move the decimal 1 point. So the answer would be 10 because it's 0.2. So if we move the decimal down, you get 10. Okay. So 20% of 50 is 10. Okay. Let's do another one here. The next one is 10% of 70. So the first thing you're going to do, I'm going to move this decimal 2 points. So that's 0.1 times 70. And you're going to do 70 times 0.1, 0, 7.0, which is 7. So the answer is going to be 7. Okay. So once you convert the percentage into a decimal, that's a straight multiplication problem. Let's do one more. Then you add 20% of 60. Once again, we're going to move this decimal point. It's going to be 0.2 times 60. 60 times 0.2, 12.0, which is 12. Okay, so these are real basic. The hardest thing, you guys, is just basically moving the decimal point 2 spots. Okay, so we're going to do ones that are some bigger numbers. So let's go ahead and look at 3 more with the numbers that are a little bit bigger. Okay, this one is 52% of 210. Okay, so one thing I want to show you with this, right off the bat, just so you get an idea, so you know you're in the ballpark, 52%, that's about half. That's about 50%. So half of 210, it's going to be right around 105. So before you do this, you're going to be like, well, my answer should be somewhere between, 100 and 110, because I know half of 210 is 105. 52% is a little bit bigger, but we know it's going to be right around, 105 or so. Okay. So what you would do once again, you're going to move the decimal point 2 places over. That's going to be 0.52 times 210. So if we do 210 times 0.52, it's going to be 0, 2, 4, 0, 5, and 1. So what that's going to be is, let me move this up a little bit. 0, 2, nope, 109.2. Okay, so really, you should, by just looking at this, that would make perfect sense, because 50% of 210 is 105, and it's a little bit bigger. That's where you get the 109.2. Okay, let's do another one here. Okay, we're going to have 28% of 866. Okay, once again, right off the bat, you guys, that's close to 25%. So that's a quarter. And a quarter of 800 is going to be about 200 and some. So we know it's going to be around 200. Okay, that's just a good starting point. So once again, 866. This is going to be 0.28 times 0.28. Okay, times 6 is 40. Carry the 4. That's 40, 52. Carry the 5. 8 times 8 is 64, so that's 69. And then that's 2 times 6 is 12. Carry the 1. 2 times 6 is 12. Plus 1 is 3. Carry the 1. Oh, 242.78. Okay. So really, it's just a straight multiplication problem with decimals. Okay. The last one, if we did 21% of 358. Okay, so this one, 20% is about a fifth. So we're looking at somewhere between probably a fifth of that is about 60, right around there. So once again, so it's 358 times 0.21, 8, 5, 3, 16, 11. That's 8, 1, 5. So 75.18. So 21% is 75.18 of 358. And I think you guys, whenever you do a big one like this, like for example, if you had 33% of 300, that one maybe you can do right in your head, because you can be like, oh, 33%, that's a third. and a third of 100 is 100. So this percent one right here, whatever that is, it should give you an idea what the answer should be. So if you're doing 33% of 300, and say, for example, your answer comes out somewhere like 475, you're like, well, it can't be bigger than the number. It's a percentage of that. So really, if you get a number that's bigger, you're gonna know that's probably too big. Okay. So you just basically have to know that this percentage is always going to be smaller than this number. And for example, if we did, this one's another easy one. If you did 50%, you're going to know that's half. So you're going to be, well, I know half of 300 is 150. So say, for example, then you get like 47%. It's going to be a little less than 150. If it's like 53%, it's going to be a little more than 150. So you can get an idea just by looking at that percentage of where the answer is going to be. So it kind of gives you a ballpark figure to give you a baseline of like, okay, my answer is going to be around there. That way, if you look at your answer and it's not close to half, you're like, oh, I did something wrong. So your baseline is always a good starting point when you have a bigger number like this 300 or if it's 400 or whatever it is, and you get like a 50%, 53%, 47%, be like, well, I know 50% is half, 25% is a quarter, 75% is 3/4. Those are all good starting points for you to kind of get an idea where the answer is going to be. Okay. All right, you guys have a wonderful weekend. I'm going to do social studies here shortly, and then we'll do reading at 11 o'clock. So if I don't see you, have a wonderful weekend. Okay, bye. Oh, I gotta end this. Gosh darn it. Hey, how are you? Good. So I was talking to Sean this morning, and I think she wants us to do a survey. And what we're going to do, people that fill it out and send it back to us, we're going to enter them into be able to win a $50 Walmart card. That way, hopefully, there's some incentive for people to fill them out. And I think what we're thinking is they got to send it back to us by maybe the second week in October. So I thought maybe you and I could maybe talk about what we want to put on the survey and I don't know, send out a remind, kind of. Yeah, to find out about class, kind of what's working, who's going to class, things like that. And then I wonder, do you know, do we have that kind of Head Start flyer that maybe Lauren did for us? Did you see that on your computer? Something with OSPA Tuesday. I was wondering. I think I had the actual hard copy above my desk, and I was going to go in and check. But do you know if Lauren sent that to us? Okay. Okay. And do you want me? I got to check real quick. Do you want me to just still come in Monday and Tuesday? Yeah, and then I'll come in Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because the code drive's canceled for now. Right. Yeah. So. You know what? Let's plan on that. My wife might need to. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it won't matter what my wife needs to do because if you're there Monday and Tuesday and I call Monday, Tuesday, I can call Wednesday if I need to, and then I've got to be there Thursday and Friday. All right. I was just gonna wonder, do you have time to maybe come in Monday for a little bit so we can maybe finish that math and do that flyer and think about what we want to put in the survey and because and then we'll just go from there and then I'll okay, and then we can talk about so I'll plan on coming in like the boys usually go out for math at like 12:30 and I usually get big clip of one. I'll just leave it after that and get there. 4:30 or 2 o'clock. Well, do we have that meeting with Lauren at 2 o'clock? So I gotta go to Head Start at 1 on Monday. Oh, yeah, we have a staff meeting on Monday. Yeah. How about Tuesday? Tuesday's fine. If we can do it maybe at 11:30 maybe, or 12. I'm gonna just go to Hudson. I gotta be Hudson Avenue by 1. Or if we don't, we can do it the following week. I think we've got time. If you can find that flyer so I can give it to OSPA and make copies of it, and we can even talk about this survey on the phone or something. Just kind of. We need to tweak the flyer. I'm pretty sure that Lauren has it. Okay. If you want to change locations and dates or whatever. Well, I think it's going to be I think it's probably going to be online learning for now, right? Google Classroom and maybe Zoom or 8x8s. Okay. Um, okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks. Bye. you guys. Good morning. What I'm going to do for social studies today is these are some practice questions off like a task practice exam. So we're going to go ahead and do a couple of these. Okay, so this is something you might see on the test. So basically, the following are excerpts from the U.S. Constitution. Article 1, Section 8. Congress shall have power to raise and support armies, to provide and maintain a navy, to provide organizing army, and disciplining the militia. Okay, so you guys, if you think about that, that is all about Congress, powers that Congress has. Okay. Article 2, the president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army, Navy of the United States and the militia of several states. That's about the president. Okay. So what fundamental principle of democracies excerpts reflect? Federalism, okay, limited government, separation of powers, judicial review. Okay. So judicial is about the courts. It doesn't talk anything about the courts in that, so you know it's not going to be D. Federalism is between state government and the federal government. This doesn't talk anything about state government. So it pretty much leaves you B and C. It doesn't seem like this is limiting government. It's talking about powers the government has. But what it does talk about is specific roles of the president and specific roles of the Congress. So it would be C, separation of powers. Okay, so say you had this in the test, you didn't know what federalism was. Hopefully, we've talked about the courts, you know, the courts judiciary branch. So that would be, you're going to be like, well, it's not going to be D. If you know anything about federalism, be like, well, if I don't know, I can't answer that. But I think if you look at B and C, you probably are going to give you an idea it's going to be B or C. And this really is separation of powers. It talks about things that Congress can do and things the president can do. So the correct answer would be C. Okay. Let's go on to the next one here. And this is just interpreting a graph. Okay. So if you look up the left-hand side, it says US demographics for the last 100 years. This is the percent population. And you can see blue is white, orange is Hispanic, gray is Asian, and yellow is black. And just by looking at this, you can see since 1910, the white population has gone down. Black population has basically almost stayed the same at about 10%. Hispanic, you can see in 1910 was almost down at 0. You can see that's going up. And you can also see that the gray line, the Asian population, is going up. Okay, so that just gives you kind of a starting point just by looking at that. And based on this data, which of the following statements is true? In 2010, Hispanics were the largest non-white population. If you go up here to Hispanic, you see that that one is true. So just by looking at A, you know that is a true statement. Okay, so we're going to keep going. 2010, whites account for less than half the US population. Well, it's still above 60%, so we know B isn't right. In 2010, blacks were the smallest population group in the US. We'll go to 2010, and that's no, it looks like the Asians are because the gray one is the lowest. And then it says in 2010, Asians were the largest non-white population. That's not true. So we go back up to the first one is right. The Hispanics were the largest non-white population group in 2010. Okay. So that one's just interpreting a graph. We do this a lot. So if you get a graph one, you just have to make sure you're looking at what the graph talks about, population, and look at the key, which each of those colors represent, okay? Okay. So question 3. The following is an excerpt from the Declaration of Independence. It says, whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government, laying the foundation on such principles and organize its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Okay, so in the expert, what does abolish mean? So we go up to here, and let's read this sentence again. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it's the right of the people to alter or abolish it. So when government becomes destructive, people can alter or abolish it. And what does abolish mean? So validate, change, eliminate, or ignore. So you're going to look at these. We're probably not going to ignore the government, especially if it's been destructive. Change, possibly. Validate, that means give them credit for it. We're not going to do that because we don't like it. So it's going to be change or eliminate. And abolish means to eliminate. When you abolish something, you get rid of it. Okay, so the correct answer would be C, but you know it's going to be B or C because we know V and D, or excuse me, A and D don't make sense. So we want to change or eliminate it. And alter would be change. Abolish means to eliminate. Okay, we totally want to get rid of it, and that's what abolish would mean. Okay. Once again, here's a chart. Okay. And this is from last year's, not last year, the last election, 2016. This is a popular vote. So it's got the three candidates. It's got Donald Trump, who's Republican, Hillary Clinton, who's a Democrat, and Gary Johnson, who was the Libertarian candidate. So you have the candidate, the party, the number of popular votes they got, and the percentage of popular votes. Okay. So which statement about the popular vote in 2016 presidential supported by the data on this table? Donald Trump received a majority of the popular vote. Okay. Majority means half of it, and he didn't. He only got 46%. Hillary Clinton received a majority of the popular vote. Well, she only got 48%. No candidate received the majority of the popular vote, because remember, it's out of 100. So no candidate received the majority of the popular vote. Indeed, Donald Trump would receive a majority of the popular vote if he'd received all of Johnson's support. So Donald Trump, if you add the 3 on that, it's only going to be 49.37. So that's not it either. So what it would be is C, no candidate received a majority of the popular vote, because no one got 50% of the popular vote. And even if you add the 3.28 to Donald Trump's 46%, it doesn't give him 50%. Okay, so it would be C, no candidate received a majority of the popular vote. Okay, one thing you can do, you guys, if you know it's not right, just cross it out. That way you're not getting confused, okay? And you can certainly do that on the, well, the test is on the computer. So but maybe on a scrap paper, you're going to put it's not A, it's not B, it's not D. So just almost a process of elimination. Okay. I'm going to skip this one. Okay. So review the timeline. So it says 1939, FDR is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So in 32, he's elected to his first term as president. In 1933, he signs a law repealing prohibition. Prohibition was the banning of alcohol in our country. So in 36, he's elected to a second term. 1940, he's selected to a third term. 1941, Japan attacks Pearl Harbor and the U.S. enters World War II. We talked about the other day. 1944, FDR is elected to a fourth term in office. 1945, the U.S. wins the Second World War. 1947, the 22nd Amendment is introduced, which limits president to 2 4-year terms. Which conclusion is supported by the information in this timeline? Okay. The 22nd Amendment was in response to FDR's unprecedented 4 terms in office. Well, it does say he served 4 terms in office, and the 22nd Amendment limits presidents to 2 4-year terms. So maybe A sounds like a pretty good answer. The attack on Pearl Harbor helped FDR win a third term in office. maybe, but doesn't say that definitively. So without any evidence, we don't know that. C, FDR failed to fill a campaign promise to repeal prohibition. Well, he did repeal prohibition, so it's not C. And voters elected FDR to fourth term or show their appreciation of victory in World War II. Maybe, but it doesn't say that anywhere in that. So once again, you'd have to infer or guess that. The only you can basically from the facts is we know that FDR served 4 terms, and in 1947 we came up with the 22nd Amendment, which limits presidents to 2 4-year terms. So it's going to be A. The 22nd Amendment was in response to FDR's unprecedented 4 terms in office. Okay, let's do one more here. Okay, this one says, 3 of the following statements about the Korean War are based on facts and opinion. Which one is based on speculation or opinion? Okay, more than 34,000 American soldiers died during the Korean War. That's a fact. The Korean War was the first time jet fighters faced off in combat. That's true, that's provable. The United States may have won the Korean War if General McDouglas had been permitted to use nuclear weapons against communist forces. That never happened, so we don't know. And the fourth one, the Korean War began in 1950 and ended with armistice in 1950. That's a fact. So A, B, and D are facts. C, we don't know because that never happened. And how you can really, the key word in there is may. So the United States may have won. You don't know for sure. You're basically speculating on that one. So that one's really not a fact. That's an opinion. Okay. So I'm going to stop there for today. But this was just good practice because you guys are going to get multiple choice. And like I said, a lot of times you're just going to have to cross out answers. And if you get down to 2 that you think are right, you have a 50-50 chance of getting it right. Hopefully you will have most of the information be familiar. Sometimes you're not going to be 100% sure with the words. So you just have to think about, when you narrow it down to 2 answers and make the best guess you can. Okay? All right, you guys have a wonderful day. I'm going to start science here in about reading in about 15 minutes. Thanks.